All right, welcome everyone to week 6 of the FDIC Money Smart for Young Adults class. Today's class is titled Charge It Right. Everything you ever wanted to know, and probably some stuff you didn't want to know about credit cards. Today is all about credit cards. But first, we'll go a little bit over the post test from last week. A couple questions that you guys struggled with. Number 4. This is for last week. It said, what is used as collateral for a home loan? Nobody got this one right. I think maybe one person did, actually. The correct answer is the home. Furniture and furnishings and personal assets are not collateral for a home loan, just the home. Now, I didn't mark that wrong for 2 reasons. One, I don't think I ever specifically stated that during the class. And B, everybody got it wrong. And since I want all of you to pass, I'm grading on a curve. So if everybody got it wrong, I didn't count it. Other ones that some of you struggled with was number 6. This one seems kind of obvious to me. I'm not sure why you guys got this one wrong. Which type of interest rate can change during the loan term? Some of you said fixed interest rate. The answer is variable interest rate. Fixed interest rates do not change. They are fixed. Variable interest rates can change. That's why they're called variable. And then number 11, an installment loan. So this one isn't super obvious. You kind of have to think about it. An installment loan is not used like a check. A check is something you write it and then the money just comes out of your bank account. That's not an installment loan. It is not the same as rent-own agreements. It's similar in the sense that you make payments on a regular basis according to an agreement, but it's not the same. The correct answer is B. It generally has the same payment every month because an installment loan is generally a fixed loan, not a variable loan. And that's pretty much it. I guess 14, somebody circled all of the options on there, but the correct answer is actually A, the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. All those other acts are actual acts, but they don't talk about being discriminated against. So technically the correct answer is A, but I left that person, I didn't count it wrong. So, all right, don't go away. Okay, now let's get into the pre-assessment for today's lesson. All right, remember this is not for a grade, this is just to gauge your understanding of the topic already. Number 1, which of the credit card terms below is most important to consider if you expect to carry a balance on your credit card from time to time?
C.
Late fee? Maybe. What'd you say?
B.
B is the correct answer. Annual percentage rate. Here's why. So late fee is an important thing to consider, but it's not the most important thing. Late fee only matters if you expect to miss a payment. The annual percentage rate is the amount of interest you will be charged if you carry a balance on that card from one month to another. We actually talked about this last week when we talked about how with credit cards, if you charge something onto the card, like use your card, when you get your bill, if you pay the full balance every month, they don't charge you any interest. So the APR doesn't matter if you plan on paying it off every month. But if you do carry a balance from month to month, that's when you want to know that APR, because that's how much interest you're going to be paying every month. All right, number 2, what is the main source of information credit card companies use to decide whether to issue you a credit card?
D.
Also talked about last week.
C.
Yeah, D, the credit report, your credit report. They want to see what your character is. Number 3, what should you do when choosing a credit card?
D. A. Wait, 3? No. D. Yeah, D.
Yeah, all of it. What should you do? Well, A is worded weird. How you plan to use a credit card. Grammatically, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I had A for
But
next one. I thought you were
think
talking
about how you plan to use the credit card. How about that? Read and compare the credit card terms. Determine which credit card is best for you. Yes, you should do all of those if you plan on getting a credit card. Number 4, if you carry a balance and would like to pay less interest and pay off the balance faster, you should do what?
A. C. D.
C is correct. Pay more than the minimum payment, as much as possible every month. Yes. Number 5. Are you eligible to receive a free credit report from each credit reporting agency once every 12 months?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
If someone say no.
That is a very specific yes or no question. The answer is probably yes.
I have no idea what it is.
Now, number 6. Who should you call first if your credit card has been lost or stolen?
C.
The credit card company. They can shut that card down and prevent whoever stole it from using it. Number 7. What steps can you take to avoid identity theft? Select all that apply.
C and D. B.
C and D are great ideas. Share your passwords and personal information, especially with strangers. No, the answers are A and B. Shred financial information before throwing it away, and protect your computer.
Sounds like a professor.
Number 8, how can you reduce the interest you pay on a credit card and the time to pay off the debt?
B.
It is B and D. So the best way is D, pay off the full balance every month. You won't pay any interest. But if you can't do that, at least do B, pay more than the minimum payment. So number 9, which of the following accurately describes credit cards?
B.
B, they are used to purchase goods and services and pay for them over time. Number 10, what is the first step you should take if your credit card is lost or stolen?
C.
Yeah, they really want you to get that. They asked the same question twice, didn't they?
Back to back.
Right. Which of the following are examples of using credit cards responsibly?
B.
B and C are correct. Pay off your balance each month or more than your minimum payment, and pay your bill on time. Number 12, when you want to apply for a credit card, you should do what? C. Shop around, compare several cards, and choose the one that seems best for you. 13, which type of credit card is linked to a savings account for collateral?
A.
A. Secured credit card.
Secured, that means it's like, if you fail, you go hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, like secured.
Your bank account is security that credit card, that they won't lose money on you. 14, before applying for a credit card, the most important thing to read is... It's A, the truth in lending disclosure for the credit card. All of these aren't bad things to read before applying for a credit card. Their lending policy statement, I don't actually know that you can find that. Credit card perks reward systems, that's one of the things you'll want to compare when comparing different credit card offers. Monthly credit card statement, you won't actually have that until you already have the credit card. But the best answer is A, truth in lending disclosure, which we will talk about. All right, well, let's get into it. Charge it right. So the objectives for this class today, first we're going to describe the purpose of credit cards. Then we're going to determine which credit card is best for you, or if a credit card is a good option for you at all. We're going to identify the factors that credit card companies look for when making credit decisions. We're actually going to skip a lot of that if we get close to time, because we already talked about all that last week. Describe how to use a credit card responsibly, and then how to identify the steps to take when a credit card is lost or stolen. All right, there's a little comic strip. I forget her name, but this girl is buying some books and magazines, and she has the money to pay for it, but she has a bit of a dilemma. She has the class trip next week. Cash, or should I charge it? She decides to charge it. What do you guys think about this this comic strip? Doesn't give us a whole lot of information. What do you think?
If she already has the cash, why not use that and use the credit card on the trip?
Maybe. Maybe.
Or just not use the credit card on the trip either.
Yeah. Well, that would assume she has enough money for both, which it appears that she doesn't, from what
Or
we can
just
deduce
don't buy
from this.
anything on the trip.
Maybe.
Or
Maybe.
don't buy this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if she does make this decision, what's the best thing she can do after this?
Pay her bill.
Pay her bill. Yeah. Make sure that she makes some money in order to pay this credit card purchase off. Preferably before her next statement date, right? Pay the whole thing. $35 shouldn't be that hard, right? Why is credit important? We already talked about this last week. It can be useful in times of emergencies. I kind of cringe at that one because a lot of times credit is not a good idea to use in an emergency. It is more convenient and safer than carrying large amounts of cash. That is true. Cash, if you have a big old fat wallet with lots of cash in it and you get robbed, they take your cash. Can you get that cash back?
No.
No. The only way to get that cash back is to rob the guy that robbed you. Right? If you have a debit or credit card in your wallet, they take that. Can you get that cash back?
No, but you can lock it down.
Actually, both. You can lock it down, and the very first thing you should do is call the credit card or debit card provider. So a lot of the stuff in this module is, again, this is like 12-year-old material. Nowadays, most debit card companies use the same company as the credit card companies, Visa and MasterCard. Your debit card is probably going to be a Visa or MasterCard. So it has the same protections that a credit card has. So a lot of the stuff in here is kind of outdated, and it talks about purchase protection, things like that. But you actually have that on both. So that is not a reason to get a credit card just because you get purchase protection. You actually have purchase protection on both. So a purchase protection is, number one, you call the credit card company right away, let them know your card was stolen, they shut it off. If the bad guy was able to get somewhere and spend money before you did that, you can dispute that transaction, that it was not you that did it, and you will get that money back.
What happens to the guy who bought it? Did he just get something free?
He got something free. That's why they do it.
But what happens to the company? So does...
They're out of luck. They should have ID'd the guy. Dead serious. That's what happens.
So hope he doesn't buy a TV.
Yeah.
What happens from you going and buying something and then saying, that wasn't me?
Well, there have been cases where that happens. It's kind of one of those things. Number one, it's just plain dishonest and wrong. Two, you are likely to get caught if you do this, because here's what happens, and this is kind of a background thing. This isn't really part of the module, but since I used to work in retail, I know this, so I'm going to tell you. So when bad guys steal a credit card and use it at a store, the credit card company gets the dispute from the customer saying, I didn't buy that, the guy that stole my credit card did. They send a letter to the store and say, hey, this transaction on this date for this amount, whatever, was incorrect. And the store has the burden of proof to prove that it was actually you that bought it. So they can do things like look up the security cameras, see who it was, you know, maybe they have a signed receipt with your signature on it, you know, whatever they have, whatever they can provide. And if they can prove that it was actually you, then the charge stands.
Do you get arrested though?
Yes. So that I haven't seen done, but that's what happens if you buy something and it actually was you, and the store actually kept really good records and shows the credit card company, here's your smiling face with your credit card buying that TV that you said someone stole your credit card and bought it. Now they can sue you for credit card fraud. So that's the reason why. Right. Let's see. And credit can affect your ability to obtain a job, buy or rent a house, or obtain insurance. Okay, so I'm gonna go off script again one more time here and talk about Dave Ramsey one more time. So I hit this pretty hard because still am a Dave Ramsey guy. Debt-free. He goes a little far and says you don't need a FICO score at all. And technically that's true. You can go your entire life without a credit score, without ever getting a credit card, without ever taking out a loan. If you do really well at saving up money and paying cash for everything, you never ever need to worry about any of this. You can check out this whole class. Doesn't matter. However, for most of us, It's going to be easier to get through life and save money if you can manage your credit responsibly. Because some jobs, well, the job one is really more negative credit can affect your ability to get a job. I don't know of any company that won't hire you because you don't have a credit score. So you don't have to worry about that one so much. Buying or renting a house definitely affects that. Renting, a lot of apartments won't rent to you if you don't have a credit score because they can't verify what your character is. Remember, one of the 4 C's, your character, your reputation for paying your debts. And buying a house, you can buy a house without credit, but it's a little bit more expensive. Well, if you pay cash, that's cash, you know, whatever. But if you can get a mortgage without a credit score. And then insurance. Insurance is the big one. Insurance is the one that you can't avoid. You can't get around it. No matter what you do, you're going to need insurance, and it's going to be more expensive if you don't have a credit score. So it is what it is. All right. What is a credit card? Credit card is a convenient form of borrowing. It's a line of credit, so it's open-ended credit. It requires you get a bill every month, and there's 2 numbers on that bill, as we've talked about before. You have the top number, which is the big number, the total amount due, and then the bottom number, which is the minimum monthly payment, which on the very first month before you've paid any interest, you know, all of that will go towards the amount that you owe. But then after that, the minimum monthly payment, if you carry a balance in that card, that minimum monthly payment is pretty much just interest. If your minimum payment is $25 and your balance is $300, you pay $25, your bill next month is still going to be $300. You paid interest. That's it, most of the time. Charge cards are a specific type of credit card that are actually designed purely for convenience. It's not really a borrowing tool. Those cards don't have the bottom number. You pay the full balance off every month, and that's what you're required to do. American Express has several of these. I think Discover has a few of these. They are purely, like, they let you defer your purchases for 1 month when you get that bill, and that's it. You got to pay the whole thing. If not, late payment charges, all that stuff. Debit cards are different. ATM cards and debit cards are tied to your checking account. So the difference, the basic difference between a credit card and a debit card, a debit card takes the money directly out of your checking account right then, like that day. A credit card applies it to your credit limit. So you have a limit on your credit card, let's say $300. You buy something for $100, your limit is now $200. You buy something for $50, your limit is now $150. If you max it out, it won't go any further. But it doesn't take any money out of your bank account. It's all on this credit limit, this money that you're borrowing from the bank as you go. And then they send you the bill, and then you can pay it back. So that's the difference. That's the basic difference between a credit card and a debit card. Stored value cards, I don't know why this is even in here, but yeah, stored value cards are another type of card, like payroll cards, government disbursement cards, gift cards. You know, cards that you've put a certain amount on and then you can spend that money, right? So, all right. Oh, we skipped activity 1. Let's do activity 1. So here we have kind of the breakdown of ATM debit cards and credit cards. So, does everybody have this page that has the breakdown with the 2 bunch of boxes on there? Activity 1. So, payments. Debit cards are buy now, pay now. Credit cards, buy now, pay later. Interest charges. Debit cards do not charge interest. The money is automatically taken from your checking account. Credit cards will charge interest if you don't pay the full balance off every month. Fees. Both debit cards and credit cards do have fees. You always need to pay attention to that. Common fees for debit cards include ATM fees if you use an ATM that isn't your bank's ATM, and also overdraft fees if you spend too much money with your debit card, more money than you actually have in your checking account. Overdraft fees, which are very expensive. Credit cards have fees and penalties, like late fee if you don't pay the bill on time, interest if you don't pay the full balance, as well as a variety of other fees that we'll get into more later. Other potential, debit cards are easier and faster than writing a check. You have a question?
Yeah, so with ATM fees, I know there's a fee if you use one of those in the bank, but what if you go to a store and you buy something and you ask for cash back? Is there also a fee for that?
Nope, not usually. Well, check your bank and see what their fees are. Most of the time, there's not a fee for that. That's free. So that's a good thing to do. If your bank doesn't have any ATMs nearby and you just need like 20, 40 bucks or whatever, that's a good way to do it. Because even if you didn't need to buy anything, you could buy a candy bar for $1 and get 40 bucks cash back. And that $1 is less than the $2.50 ATM fee that's charged most of the time. $2.50 is pretty average. And then also, got to keep in mind when you're using foreign, like other bank ATMs, that ATM's charging you a fee and your bank is also charging a fee. Usually by the time you're done, you're paying over $5 to get money out of your own bank account using other companies' ATMs.
So you can just use the store like an ATM.
You sure can. Yeah. Now, ATMs usually have withdrawal limits of like $500, whereas cash back from a grocery store is probably 50 bucks, 100 bucks, something like that. So you can get more at an ATM. So if you need a lot of money, maybe it still makes sense to use another ATM. But it just depends. Did you have a question?
I was, but didn't mention it.
Oh, okay. All right. Credit cards. One of the big benefits of credit cards, certain credit cards, is they have some freebies involved. Usually in the form of cash rewards. We'll talk a little bit about credit card rewards in this class, but here's kind of the cool thing. With credit cards, if you use them properly, if you only spend what you're going to spend anyway, pay it off every single month, you can actually make money on credit cards through credit cards rewards. So I'm pretty sure we'll get into that in more detail later on, so I'm going to leave it at that for now. Benefits: no risk of losing cash that you cannot replace with a debit card. No risk of losing cash that you cannot replace. That's not true. That's false. You can overdraft, then you're losing cash. Purchase protection. See, here's where this is an old thing. This is before everybody started using Visa and MasterCard for their debit cards. Purchase protections, freebies and rebates, all that kind of stuff. Withhold payments on charges in dispute. That's true with both of them. With debit cards and credit cards, they have purchase protection. Yeah, the big danger with credit cards is on the bottom right box. Overspending can occur since the credit limit may be higher than you can afford. That is the big danger with credit cards, is if you are not responsible, not watching what you're spending, you can overspend on a credit card, and when you get that bill, you won't be able to pay the whole thing. And depending on how bad you did it, it may take you a long time to crawl out of that debt. And that's the reason why people listen to Dave Ramsey, is because a lot of people do this. It's really easy to use that credit card and spend it on things you think you need, or just not pay attention or whatever, and run yourselves really high into credit card debt where you owe thousands and thousands of dollars that you can't pay back. Yep, the interest builds, the interest continues to build, and you're making those minimum payments every month and you're not getting anywhere. I've worked with people who had $20,000 in credit card debt. They were paying over $500 a month in credit card bills every month, and it was all interest. So they paid $500 a month for a year, and they still owed $20,000. This is the danger of credit cards. All right, we're gonna skip activity 2. All right, secured and unsecured cards. Most credit cards are unsecured, meaning they don't require any collateral. That's why they charge such high interest rates, is because the risk is great for the creditor that you're gonna go hog wild and run up your card $5,000 in debt and then not be able to pay it. So they charge high interest rates for that. Collateral is an asset that you promise to give the bank if you do not repay a loan. If you have no credit history or have had credit problems in the past, a secured credit card is a good route to rebuild or build your credit. Or you have to put some collateral forward, like a savings account or something like that. Student credit cards. Student credit cards usually have a low credit limit, like $200 to $500. The purpose of them is to help young people establish credit. However, these can often be regarded as predatory lending because they will go to these college campuses and hand out free t-shirts to everybody that applies for a credit card because they know most college students have not been in this class, don't know the dangers of credit cards, and they're going to be those guys that rack that credit card up all the way to the top and make minimum payments for the next 10 years. Yeah. Remember to read the terms and conditions. Even if you're getting a free t-shirt, check the terms and conditions, the truth in lending disclosure, which we'll talk more about that in a little bit.
Flags, like, I'll give you something if you take my product.
It is. However, when you get to the point where you actually have good credit, where all the creditors know that you are a responsible person that pays your bills, they will start begging you to take their credit card, and they'll start giving you all kinds of free stuff. Like, we give you this really high rewards rate, or we have this introductory offer, or whatever. So with that, it's a double-edged blade. It's a double-edged blade. It's good because you can compare all these credit card offers and to find the one with the very best benefits that you're gonna actually make money or get a profit off of this credit card because you use it responsibly. Also, on the other end of that token, you gotta be careful that you're not, ooh, free t-shirts, yeah, sure, sign whatever, and end up getting into something that's gonna cause you more damage over time.
Why did it make you for if you have a good credit score?
Because they know, so I think we talked about this last week. Credit card companies make money two different ways. One, charging you interest when you don't pay your full balance off every month. Two is merchant fees. This isn't something you pay. Whenever you use a credit card or even a debit card at any store, that store has to pay a percentage of your purchase as a merchant fee to the credit company, as a fee, like a processing fee for accepting their credit cards. Now, why do stores pay that? Why don't they just say, we don't accept credit cards, cash only?
Is that what some, like, say they only
Some
accept
places do. And some gas stations have a cash price and a credit price, and they're not the same. Yeah.
You went to a restaurant, but they give you 10% off if you pay with cash.
Mm-hmm. Some stores do. Some places do. And that's why. These credit card processing fees are usually 3 to 4% that the store has to pay in credit card processing fees. Now, the reason most of them pay it is because in America, people are lazy and everybody likes to use their credit card because they don't want to carry cash. So if a store limits themselves and only takes cash, they're going to lose a huge percentage of their customers. So they they're kind of like strong-armed into this. They have to do this because otherwise they're going to lose half their customers. Because 96% of something is better than 100% of nothing. You know what I mean? So, all that to say, credit card companies, even if you're the type of person that pays your entire balance off every month, that doesn't mean the credit card companies hate you. They're just going to sell you a different type of credit card. The rewards credit cards, the introductory offer credit cards, $100 sign-on bonus. You apply for our credit card and spend a certain amount of money on it in the first 6 months. We'll give you $100 cash. That's a real thing. Only for people with good credit. And yes, you can spend that X amount of dollars and that X amount of time and pay the whole thing off and not pay any interest. I do this in real life. Our family, I use 2 different credit cards. They both are rewards credit cards. I pay the full balance off every month. I have for 7 years. I make on average $800 to $900 a year in credit card rewards. It's Christmas. I bank those rewards all year long, and then in October I cash them all in, and I got my entire Christmas budget. Done. For free. It's awesome. Love it. But not everyone can do that. You have to be responsible, because the second you don't pay that full balance off and pay that 29% interest, those rewards are nothing compared to the interest you're going to be paying. So it's very important. Rewards cards. Yeah, we just talked about that. Some rewards cards have really, really high rewards. Airline cards are a big one. Airline rewards cards, foreign travel cards, have all kinds of extra perks, like no foreign transaction fees. That's a big one. If you ever plan on traveling abroad, like in other countries, your debit card and even a lot of credit cards charge a transaction fee for any transaction you make in a foreign country. And it's usually 3%. 3% adds up pretty quick, especially if you're on like a vacation, you know? These travel rewards cards typically waive that fee and give you really good rewards, like free flights after you've spent a certain amount of money on those cards. These are great rewards cards. The thing you gotta watch for is the annual fee. These cards typically charge an annual fee, sometimes $100, sometimes $300 annual fee to own this card. You pay that fee every year. So it becomes kind of a math thing for you if it makes sense. How much rewards are you going to get? What are those rewards worth? And is it worth paying that annual fee for that card? So it just kind of depends. So you want to make sure that the rewards you expect to earn justify the annual fee. Here's some statistics for you. In 2008, they did a survey and found that approximately 84% of undergraduates, college students, had at least one credit card. Only 17% of them paid off their credit card balance each month. And on average, college seniors are graduating with an average balance of more than $4,000 on their credit cards. These are college students. Some of them don't even have jobs, but they've got $4,000 in credit card debt on average, on top of their student loan debt, which is probably $20,000 or $30,000 or $50,000. How would you like to get out of college, brand new, starting your first real job, already owing hundreds of dollars a month in student loans and credit card debt? Right off the bat. Doesn't that sound like fun? No. Manage your credit cards responsibly. All right. Credit card solicitations. Does everybody know what solicitations are? Do your parents have that sticker on their door that says no soliciting? Soliciting is selling things. So in the old days, there used to be like vacuum cleaner salesmen that would come door to door and like try to sell you a vacuum cleaner and stuff like that. Those were the days. But solicitations is basically trying to sell you stuff. So ads, advertisements. What are some places you guys see ads for credit cards?
TV.
TV? Yeah. Where else? In the mail. All the time, right? Junk mail, we call it. You know, I get like 3 credit card offers a day. Tons of them. All the time. Another one is store checkout lines. You guys ever been in the store with your parents? Home Depot is a big one. Home Depot, JCPenney, where else? Kohl's, all these places. Every time you go to the checkout line, would you like to put this on your Kohl's card? Oh, I don't have a Kohl's card. Oh, well, would you like to apply for a Kohl's card? You get a discount. Why do you think they're giving you a discount on your Kohl's card? Because they know, statistically, 84% of you guys are going to carry a balance on that Kohl's card, and the amount of interest that you pay is going to be way more than the discount. All right. Yeah, credit card ads are everywhere. How do they sell you? What tactics do they use to try to sell you on a credit card? Sometimes they offer you low or 0% introductory rates. Introductory interest rate. Now, this is a really sly thing that a lot of companies do. They tell you 0% interest for the first 12 months. And what that does is you say, oh, cool, I can buy whatever it is, rack up that balance, and as long as I make that minimum monthly payment every month, I can pay for it later and still not pay interest. And that's true. You can. But what you're doing is building a habit of not paying that credit card balance
Do they
off
know
every
that?
month. Yeah, of course they know that. When I worked at the bank, all the time, I was talking to people who racked up $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 in credit card debt using 0% introductory offers. And when that introductory offer would expire, they would just apply for a new credit card with another introductory offer. And they would do what's called a balance transfer, where they would use their new credit card with the 0% interest to pay off the old credit card, almost like refinancing a credit card, to pay off the old credit card that was now charging them 12, 15, 20% interest on this new 0% card. The catch is balance transfers aren't free. They charge a balance transfer fee, which is added to the balance of that card. And it's 3, 4, 5%. Well, it's not 0% anymore, is it? Now it's 5% every year. And you're doing this over and over and over again. And they would do this, and they would just keep that balance, and it would just get bigger. Yeah.
Couldn't you just do this when you're like in your 80s and then you die and then you just...
Yeah. Yeah, you totally could. You totally could. Now, there's still a catch. There's a catch with everything. The catch is when you die, even though it's unsecured debt, it's still debt that you owed, and they can go after your estate. So if you had any assets or money in the bank or anything that your inheritance would get, those creditors are entitled to take that money.
I want that money though.
Right.
That's ripping off their grandkids and
Yeah.
kids.
So there's a whole movement out there of people who either never had kids or their kids are plenty well off and they don't need your inheritance. And there's this whole movement called Die with Zero. And it's this whole idea that you save up all this money for retirement and then you spend it all in retirement, live it up for the last 10, 20 years of your life. And the goal is to die penniless.
Yes.
Because who cares?
Yeah. Can't take money with you.
Right.
But then turns out you're the person who lives to 105.
That's true. So that's the risk.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a whole movement of people out there that are doing this. And it's not wrong. I mean, whatever. So,
Until you run out of money.
yeah. Yeah.
And then you're like, I need to die now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not
Take
good.
me home.
So other things that credit card companies use to advertise to you, they'll advertise lower 0% introductory rates, cashback bonuses like the sign-on bonus that we talked about a little bit ago, no annual fees, personalized or stylized cards, really fancy looking cards. I knew some guy that was so proud of his credit card. It was metal. It was a metal credit card. Like, feel this thing, man. It's so cool. Awesome. How much are you paying for that? Free stuff. Free hats, free backpacks, free t-shirts, even reduced fare airline tickets like we talked about before, or discount on your merchandise if you sign up for our store card, whatever it is. Lots of ways. Now, you again, like we said before, I'll reiterate it again. You can look at this two different ways. One, these are the tactics these guys are using to get you to sign up for their credit card, to try to make money, one way or another. Either charging you fees that you didn't think about, or charging you interest when you don't pay your full balance off every month, or these can be perks that you can choose from when you're reading all the fine print and making sure you know what you're getting into to figure out how to get the most benefit out of the credit card that you're going to choose. So I don't want you guys going around like all these credit card offers are evil and they're just trying to scam me out of my money. Not really. Some of them are. But most of the time, they're competing against each other to win your business. So it's your job to compare all the offers and make sure you get the very, very best thing that's going to benefit you the most. Pre-approved offers. So these are the ones you get in the mail all the time. You're pre-approved for such and such credit card. Pre-approved credit card offers are worthless. They say that because what they're doing when they get these is they are pre-screening the credit card companies, or no, not the credit card companies, the credit bureaus. Credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, who carry your credit card, your credit reports, they sell your information to these other companies. They're for-profit companies. They sell your information, your name, your address, and not all your credit history, but some of it, enough that they think you would qualify for their credit card. So these credit card companies that are sending you all this mail that says you're pre-approved for XYZ credit card, they got that information from the credit bureaus and they think you might be approved. So those aren't bad things. Like, you can get these credit card offers, all this junk mail, and if you're actually shopping for a credit card, this is a great place to look. You know, open up all those things of mail, read their truth in lending disclosures that shows you their interest rate, their fees, you know, introductory offers, everything. Compare and get the best one for you, and then you can apply for it. You're not necessarily going to be approved. Pre-approved doesn't mean approved. You still have to qualify for the card. Read the agreement carefully. Shop around. If you don't want the credit bureaus selling your information, you can opt out. You can go to this website at the bottom of the screen here, or you can call this phone number and you can tell them, I want to opt out of pre-screened credit card offers. And they will stop selling your information to the credit bureaus. Truth in lending disclosure. We've talked a lot about this, but what is it? There is an example of one in your book. Looks like this. You guys find that?
Yeah, I think there's two of them actually.
There might be. This is the piece of paper that you want to compare different credit card offers. You've got to get this for each credit card. And you can get this information before you ever apply for the credit card. You can ask them for this. So this is going to have their APR, annual percentage rate for purchases. And it's always a range because you're getting this before you apply for the credit card. They don't know what your interest rate is going to be yet. They choose your interest rate based on their preset criteria, like your credit score, your income, your, that's pretty much it really. But it can be as low as, in this example, 8.99%, or as high as 19.99%. So the guy getting the 8.99% probably has an 800 credit score and really good income. The guy getting the 19.9% probably has a 680 credit score and not so good income. So it just depends. After that, read the little fine print on here. It says 8.9 to 19.9 when you open your account based on your credit worthiness, as we just talked about. After that, your APR will vary with the market based on the prime rate. So I think we talked about this, the prime rate before, but the US government sets the prime, or actually it sets the federal funds rate, which then affects the prime rate. But basically, they manipulate interest rates to try to control inflation. And right now, they're raising the prime rate by 0.5%, like every 3 months, what they're doing right now. So, all of that to say, you may initially get a credit card with an interest rate of 8.99%, but when the Fed raises interest rates, that rate's gonna go up. APR for balance transfers. Notice it's not the same as it is for purchases. So, like we talked about before, that balance transfer of taking a credit card balance from one card and moving it to another card. There might be an introductory interest rate of 0% for a certain amount of time, but after that, they're gonna charge this other interest rate on that balance. Cash advances. Cash advances is taking cash out of a credit card. It is a completely different thing than using your credit card at a store. Now, cash advances can only be done at certain places, like at a bank, but it's literally taking a portion of your credit limit on that credit card out as cash, money in your hand. Those are not treated the same as purchases. For one thing, they have their own special interest rate, which you'll notice is higher than any other interest rate. They also charge a fee to do the cash advance in the first place, and they start accruing interest on that from day one. You instantly start paying interest on that. It's not like purchases where you can pay it by your first month and you don't pay any interest. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is never, ever, ever do a cash advance on your credit card. It is one of the most expensive ways to borrow cash. Don't do it. Penalty APR and when it applies. This APR may be applied to your account if you make a late payment. Go over your credit limit twice in a 6-month period. Make a payment that is returned, like write a check to pay your credit card and you didn't have the money in your bank account and it overdrafts. Or do any of the above on another account that you have with us. Maybe you have multiple credit cards. If your APRs are increased for any of these reasons, the penalty APR will apply until you take 6 consecutive minimum payments when due and do not exceed your credit limit during that time period. Basically, that 8.99% that you signed up for, the second you miss a payment, that's gone. Now you're paying 28.9% interest. And from that day, that interest is for the next 6 months, and whatever you didn't pay, whatever your balance was, guess what? 28.9% interest on that whole thing. The day you miss a payment. Never miss a payment on your credit cards. By the way, this is an example, but these are all real life numbers. These are all exactly real. How to avoid paying interest on purchases. Like we talked about before, your due date is at least 25 days after the close of each billing cycle. We will not charge you interest on purchases if you pay your entire balance by the due date each month. All right, fees. This card has a lot of fees. Annual fee, $30. Every year you're going to pay $30 just for the right to have this card. Account setup fee, $30. When you first apply for the card, they're going to charge you $30. Participation fee, $30 annual, $250 per month. What's the difference between a participation fee and an annual fee? Nothing. They just want to add another fee on there and call it something else. Additional card fee, $15 annually. You want to get someone else a card with you. Maybe you get married, you want to add your wife on your credit card. Maybe your parents have a card like this and they want to add you as an authorized user. They're going to pay $15 to get you a card. Account maintenance fee on closed accounts. If you close an account, usually there's a time frame on these. If you close an account within, say, 12 months, they might charge you an early closure fee or something like that. Transaction fees, balance transfers, $5 or 3% of the amount you transfer, whichever is greater. Cash advance fees, foreign transaction fees. Remember all these? We've talked about all these already. Penalty fees. Not only do they charge you a higher interest rate on everything on that card, they're going to charge you a late payment fee and a fee for going over the credit limit and a returned payment fee. Other fees, required account protector plan. I don't know what that is. So if you see something like that on yours, you're probably going to ask someone from that company, what is this and how do I avoid it? Ideally, if you already have a credit card, like secured credit cards, you're going to pay some fees. You're going to pay the security balance, and usually they have a small annual fee or something like that. In real life, most of the time, you can get a credit card that if you use it right, costs you nothing. That should be your goal. Find a credit card that, they're all going to have fees, like interest rates and balance transfer fees and cash advance fees and things like that. But if you don't plan on doing any of that, it doesn't matter. Find a card that you can get for free. It's not going to cost you anything. All right. So that is the truth in lending disclosure. Credit card terms. Annual percentage rate. I think you guys already know what that is. It's the interest rate expressed as an annual number. Fees. Grace period. Grace period is that 1 month before you get your credit card bill that if you pay the full balance off, you don't pay any interest. Balance computation method. So this can get really complicated if you are doing a whole bunch of stuff on that credit card. Like maybe you transferred a balance from another card and maybe you did some purchases and a cash advance. All those balances are going to be computed their own way because they all have their own interest rate, as you guys saw on the truth in lending disclosure. So that's the balance computation method. All right, I don't think we need to dial into that. We've talked about a lot of this. Is it a decent offer? Let's do activity 3. All right. Use the sample truth in lending disclosure in your participant guide to answer the following questions. All right. Question number 1. Is this offer for a fixed or variable rate credit card? Variable. Real quick, easy thing to answer this question. It's always variable. Credit cards, like by definition, are variable interest rates. They are not fixed. Number 2, is there an annual fee for this card?
Yes.
How much is it?
$60.
Yeah, it's kind of $60, isn't it? Technically it's 30. They call the other one a different name, but it's totally an annual fee. Yeah.
So,
If you make a late payment, what's the penalty APR?
35 and higher.
Is it 35? I thought it was 29.
late payment is $35. What is
No,
the-
I'm sorry, not, did I read it wrong?
No, it's
What is the penalty APR for making a late payment?
Yeah, it's 28.
Yeah, 28.9%. There is a fee of $35 on top of that. How can you avoid paying interest on your purchases?
Pay the bill, the total amount of money you spent. That money.
Yep, pay the whole thing every month before the due date. All right, what method is used to calculate your balance? We didn't really talk about that, but it is on there. How will we calculate your balance?
We use a method called average daily balance.
Yep.
ADC.
Yep, average daily balance method. All right. Oh, here it is again. Sweet. All right. Other factors to consider when you're comparing credit card offers. Customer service. Whatever credit card company you're considering applying with, maybe read some of their reviews online and see what they're about. Is there a lot of people complaining that they had hidden fees or that they didn't help them when they lost their credit card or whatever it was? You know, some companies have better customer service than others. Additional protection, like extended warranties. This is a big one. I have a credit card that has this special perk that if I pay my cell phone bill with that credit card, they give me a free cell phone protection plan. I paid nothing for this, but if I break my cell phone, my credit card company will buy me a new cell phone just because I pay my credit card bill with them. So what do?
Break your cell phone.
I pay? No, I don't break my cell phone. I'm sure there's a, deductible or something, but I pay my credit card, or I pay my cell phone bill with my credit card, and then I pay my credit card out of my checking account every month, automatically. So I'm paying absolutely nothing, but I get this free insurance policy on my cell phone. Pretty cool. Also, travel insurance is pretty standard. Visa signature cards are like this upgraded Visa card that has travel protection. Anytime you book any kind of travel with your credit card, like if you book a flight, in that flight purchase, because you booked your flight with your credit card, with your Visa signature credit card, if you lose your luggage, they have an insurance policy that pays you back the cost of, whatever was in there. Stuff like that. If you rent a car with your credit card and you wreck that car, there is insurance on your credit card. So you don't have to buy the extra insurance from the car rental company. All kinds of little perks that you can get from these credit cards. Credit limit. This is a consideration because sometimes you need something with a higher credit limit. Also, this is one of those things where it kind of depends on how responsible you think you are. Because the higher the credit limit, the better your credit score is going to be. The reason why is because your utilization ratio. Utilization of your credit card is how much of your credit limit you actually spend every month. The more of your credit limit you spend every month, the worse your credit looks. The idea here is you want to look like you don't need it. You have a $500 credit card, you only want to spend maybe $100 and pay it off. Spend $100, pay it off. You don't want to rack it all the way up to the $500 and then pay it off. Because then it looks like you're maxing out your credit cards every month. That's bad. So having a crazy high credit limit is actually a good thing. The first time I went to apply for a credit card when I had good credit, they gave me like a $7,000 credit limit. And I'm like, what? No, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want to spend $7,000. And in a way, that's true. I mean, you don't want to be tempted. You don't want to think, oh, I got $7,000 in this credit card. Let's go on vacation. But what that does is it allows me to spend $1,000 on that credit card so I can use it for gas, groceries, all my Walmart purchases, everything I do every month, and pay it off every month, rack up all those rewards on that $1,000 worth of spending every month, and it still only uses 1/7 of my credit limit. That's the benefit. So my credit score looks awesome. So having a high credit limit is a good thing as long as you're going to manage it responsibly. You can apply for credits individually based on just your assets, income, and credit history, or you can apply for joint credit. This is a good way if you don't have a really high credit score yet to get approved for a credit card that you might not have been approved for otherwise, or any other loan for that matter. That's kind of called a co-signer. Co-signer can be, a responsible adult who wants to go on there with you, or maybe you're married, you can go on with your spouse, things like that. And then they will count both of you guys' assets, income, and credit history. And usually they'll go off of the better of the two's credit history. So it's really helpful for that. Typically, you have to be 21 years old to apply for a credit card. And that is true if you're applying singly by yourself. When you're 18, you can apply for one with someone else, like a parent. Providing false information on a credit application is a crime. If you lie on your credit application, that's credit card fraud, and you can go to jail for that. All right, it's already been almost an hour, so we're going to skip all the stuff that we've learned about previously. We already talked about credit reports. There's the 3 credit bureaus. Here's where you get your free annual credit report. Here's the range of credit scores. If you're denied, you have a right to receive a free copy of your credit report. Credit card user case studies. Let's go through some of these. Activity number 4. All right. Situation number 1. Jason receives a credit card bill. He gets a cash advance on another credit card to pay part of the bill. Was this responsible or irresponsible?
Irresponsible.
Why?
Because there's fees for balance transfers.
He didn't even do a balance transfer. He'd have been better off if he'd have done a balance transfer. He did the worst thing he could possibly do. He got a cash advance and used that cash to pay that other credit card. That's the most expensive way to borrow money, is a cash advance. He's paying a cash advance fee, he's paying the highest interest rate possible, and he's charging interest on day 1. All right, situation number 2. The balance on Colin's credit card is $3,000, which is his credit limit. He makes only the minimum payment and is always close to that limit on his credit card. Responsible or irresponsible?
Irresponsible.
Why?
Because you want to look like you don't need it.
Right.
And also, he's only paying the interest. He's keeping whatever debt
Yeah,
he has.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, kind of ironic. The reason why he's always close to the limit on his credit card is because he's not making any progress.
Yeah.
His balance is staying at $3,000 every month. He doesn't even have to use the thing. If he just makes that minimum payment on it, it's going to stay at $3,000 for 10 years. Situation 3. Linda uses her credit card for convenience. She pays cash for most small purchases. She pays her credit card bill in full each month. Responsible or irresponsible?
Responsible.
Responsible. Why? Because you're right. Yeah, she pays her credit card balance in full each month.
She should tell Colin and Jason how to.
They're just making the boys look
Right.
bad.
Yeah.
And when you want to put small purchases on the card
Yeah.
instead of using cash.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking that too.
Yeah, you do. You
But
do.
What is
Um.
this isn't telling us all like what is convenience? Like is convenience like if her car breaks down $1,000, like what is her credit card limit and what is convenience for
Yeah.
her?
Yeah. So we do have limited information here, but the key that we can see is that she does pay her credit card bill in full each month. That's responsible.
Because it means there's no interest.
Number 4. Becca was excited to get a credit card offer in the mail. She applied for the credit card without reading the terms. When the card came, she bought several items. When the bill came, she was surprised to find additional fees charged to her account. Responsible or irresponsible?
Irresponsible, read that fine print.
Read the fine print. She did not read the truth in lending disclosure and understand the terms before she applied. Maybe they had a sign-on fee or a credit card activation fee or an annual fee or whatever it was. Even if she was going to use that card responsibly and pay the balance off every month, if she didn't read the fine print, she was charged fees that she didn't know about. Good. All right. Lost or stolen credit cards. If your card is lost or stolen, immediately call the credit card company and shut that card down. Also, never share your credit card information with someone else. This is a tricky one. There are scammers everywhere trying all kinds of inventive ways to get your information. They will call you posing as your credit card company, and they will say, "This is Mr. Jones from Capital One. Am I speaking to Mr. Smith? If this is truly Mr. Smith, what's your credit card number so I can verify I'm talking to the real Mr. Smith?" Here's a tip. If they're calling you, they already know it's you.
Yeah.
They're not going to ask you verification questions. Now, if you call them, they're going to ask you verification questions. And that's where you need to make sure you're calling the right phone number to actually get Capital One or whoever it was. Yeah.
You should go call your insurance company and just have them both on the phone and just talk to both of them till the other one backs out.
Maybe. Identity theft is when thieves steal your personal information and pretend to be you. Now that's as simple as using your stolen credit card information and going and making a purchase. Common forms of identity theft include phishing, unsolicited emails that appear to be from a legitimate source. We already talked about that in the class previously. Farming, fake websites seeking personal or private information by appearing legitimate. Practically the same thing. Skimming. We talked about skimming before too. It's a storage device used to obtain credit and debit card numbers that they put on gas pumps or credit card readers in the store or whatever. Just look at the device when you're putting in that card, and if it looks funny, maybe ask a cashier or someone. They'll know. They'll be able to tell whether it's supposed to be like that or not. Here's a website you can go to. I don't know what they're going to do for you, but there you go. We'll skip the credit card statements. Well, I guess we can look at it real quick. There's a picture of a credit card statement in here. So this This is a copy of what a credit card statement might look like. So you can see in the top left corner in that box there, you have your summary of account activity. Previous balance is the balance that carried over from last month. This guy didn't pay his full credit card balance every month. He's paying interest on that $80.52. He did make a payment of $50. He made an additional $52.13 in new purchases. He doesn't have any balance transfers. He doesn't have any cash advances. He doesn't have anything past due. They charged him $37 worth of fees. That's interesting. They didn't charge him any interest, but they charged him fees. So his new balance is $119.65. So look over on the box on the right where it says payment information. The total balance on that card is $119.65. The minimum payment due is $10. Read what it says there just below that where it says minimum payment warning. If you make only the minimum payment on time each month and no other amounts are added to the balance, we estimate that it will take you approximately 13 months to pay off the balance shown on this statement. Because most of that $10 is interest. But the minimum payment's only $10. It's really tempting to just pay $10 and go on with your life. If you want to pay interest. And then you have the transactions and everything down at the bottom there. All right. Keep good records, pay your credit cards, making more than the minimum payment. There is a chart that looks like this in there. You guys find that? I think it's activity 6.
It's
Yeah,
on 2
activity
different
6.
pages though.
Yeah, mine is too. That's kind of annoying. So, if you have a credit card with 18% APR, you buy a TV for $500, a computer for $1,000, and furniture for $2,500. Look how much interest you're going to be paying over the time span that it takes you to pay that off. Yeah.
You probably wouldn't even have by then.
Yeah, it's because the higher the balance you have on that credit card, the longer that minimum monthly payment is going to take to pay off that purchase. But if you make more than the minimum payment, maybe you got yourself in a bind and you weren't able to pay the whole thing off, even making an additional principal payment is going to help. So let's see, the minimum, so the $2,500 at 18% APR, if you make the minimum payment, it's going to take you 23 years, and you're going to pay a total of $5,300 in interest. That's twice as much as what you borrowed in the first place. But if you can make the minimum payment plus an additional $24 a month, it cuts that down to 4 years, and the interest goes down to $1,000 from 5. Huge difference of just making a little bit extra payment. You have a question?
This is a question from the last thing we did. If you pay the full credit card payment and then don't use your credit card for the next 2 months, are there any fees to that?
Depends on the card. So some secured cards have an annual fee that they actually charge every month. So they'll send you a bill for like $3 or something like that. Otherwise, yeah, you can go several months without even getting a credit card bill because you didn't spend any money on it. Now, that doesn't help your credit score as much, because if you're using the credit card as a tool to build credit, you do want to be using it every month because they track how many payments you made on time. So if you didn't make any payments, that's not really an on-time payment. It's just not a payment. So you have one. It does still help your credit, just not as much. So it is recommended if you're using it for credit building specifically, that it is recommended to use it every month. Also, most credit cards will eventually just deactivate if you go long enough without using them. They'll just shut it off. They'll just cancel the account for inactivity. All right. So if you look at this chart, you can kind of see the impact of even just making a small additional payment on top of the minimum payment. And the reason why is because that minimum payment is pretty much all interest. Anything you can pay above the minimum payment is going to help. That's it. In this module, we learned the purpose, where you can go to apply, how to decide which credit card is best, what companies look for, and how to use a card responsibly and safeguard against identity theft. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next week.